there was a woman that we helped. This actually happened at the Varsity in Atlanta. So she was being held in a hotel near there. Her pimp had her, and I think three other women. She decided she wanted to leave. So she escaped up, went up to the Varsity, started to look through her phone, and she didn't have any safe contact. She thought, I'm so isolated from everybody that would have loved me and cared for me, and I'm alone. Who in the world do I call? I'm Jess Roth. I'm the Atlanta director of the Freedom Collective. I've been in the anti-trafficking space for a little over 10 years now.
Okay. All right. What was the thing that made you gravitate towards this type of work?
It started when I used to work at a church. I
Okay.
was in youth ministry there, and we took the youth group on a mission trip to Bulgaria. And there, they had an outreach to women that were trafficked and in exploitation. And that's the first time like God really touched my heart for this work.
Okay.
And then it was something that hadn't really been on my radar before, and then it couldn't get off. As soon as I got back, it was like everywhere I turned, I kept seeing stuff about sex trafficking, how it was prevalent here and not just overseas. And he just really put a burden on my heart for helping women who are ready to leave that life and giving them opportunities.
Okay. What would you say are some of the things that would usher somebody in or grab somebody into being trafficked or just in that realm?
I think there's a lot of different factors that could bring somebody into this life. There's no one cookie cutter. This is what a victim of exploitation is going to look like when she's 12.
Okay.
That it could be a lot of things, but there are certain vulnerabilities that we've seen trends with, like some people who have kids that experience some type of physical or sexual abuse in young age are more vulnerable
Okay.
because they're looking for that love connection. And
Yes.
so pimps can prey on that. Exploiters and pimps know how to spot vulnerabilities. And so in Atlanta, the average age of entry into trafficking is 15.
15.
Yes,
15.
unfortunately, which if that's the average age, I mean, some enter younger as well. Things you think about that age and you're growing and you're trying to figure out life
Yeah.
and looking for acceptance and love and connection. And that's what these exploiters prey on. And so one of the biggest avenues right now for recruitment is through social media. Platforms like Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, where predators will befriend people, kind of do what we term Romeo pimp, where they actually show love and affection before the abuse starts. So it's not what you would assume man in a white van rolls up at a playground and throws somebody in the car.
Yes.
While that does happen, that's not the majority of what we see here in the States.
Could you describe for us from the exit of trafficking to, hey, we're here to help. This is now a safe place, and kind of how that goes?
Yes. So at the Freedom Collective, our goal is to be that emergency crisis stabilization.
Okay.
Because once a woman decides to make that choice,
Mhm.
it's imperative that it happens quickly because she might only have a certain window of time where she can get out, or she might decide tomorrow she doesn't want to leave. We don't know. So we run a 24-hour hotline. When the women call and she decides that she does want to exit the life, we send a volunteer response team to go pick her up. And our goal is to be there within 3 hours if possible.
Wow.
And then we take her to the safe home. While she's at the safe home, it's usually about a 3-week period. All of her immediate needs are met: shelter, clothing, food, doctor's appointments, psychiatric appointments, a lot of times they need detox because there's a huge overlap with drug use within exploitation. And so we make sure all of that's taken care of so that then she can begin to apply to long-term restorative care programs. And those programs offer a year to 2 year stay,
Mhm.
and you get like trauma-informed counseling, job training, further your education, really help you get ready to reacclimate into normal life.
Okay.
But our portion is kind of the emergency room of
All
we
right.
want to be there as soon as a woman's ready to leave.
I've come to the realization that class doesn't matter, race does not matter, age does not matter. Could you expand on that?
It's just like the flu. It doesn't choose, it does not picky. The flu will affect anybody. So it's similar where trafficking can affect anybody because everybody has those certain vulnerabilities.
And in your experience, I'm sure you've asked this question a lot. What what holds a woman back? What holds a young lady back from wanting to exit? Is it the safety, the security that this toxic environment holds for her? Is it the abandonment? Is it the unknown? It's like, what am I going to do next? Or what kind of feedback do
Yeah.
you get with that?
A lot of those things that you mentioned are
Okay.
very true. It's hard. Change is always hard, even
Yes.
for somebody who has a healthy living situation. And,
Yes.
I have people that pour into me, but if I'm in a job I don't like, it takes a minute to make that jump because there's the unknown. Will I get
Yes.
another job? Will it pay enough? All of those types of things. So, one is just the unknown.
Okay.
And even if I'm in an awful situation, maybe it's the known situation. And so it's scarier for me to leave that. A lot of it is exploiters and pimps and traffickers. What they will do is really isolate women. So they cut off any healthy relationship that they have.
What are some things that were surprising to you or some lessons that you learned along the way that
Mhm.
you had no idea you were going to learn?
They are my heroes because it was one of the first months I was working in the safe home.
Mhm.
And I'm naive and I'm thinking, oh, nice. Everybody's going to be so excited to be in the safe home because they were in this awful life. And now we have given them this amazing opportunity. And this woman had been with us for less than 72 hours. And she just starts crying. And she said, I need you to take me to the bus station. I can't do this. And in my mind, she's in her 20s. I'm thinking, like, why can't you do this? Like, look, we're offering you this amazing life.
Mhm.
She's like, no, I have to go get high. You have to take me to the bus stop right now. I'm not ready. And she began to open up about her story of how she had been sexually abused by an uncle, then gone through, he started selling her to friends. She ran away, got picked up by a pimp, and who had her start using drugs at the age of 14 to keep her under control. And then she's in her 20s now, had not been sober for that long, and she'd been with us for less than 72 hours. She said, I have not been sober for this long since I was 14. And right now I'm reliving every abuse that has happened to me, every rape that has happened to me, and I can't do it. I have to go get numb. And so she went back to the life. And I think that really helped me understand the courage that it takes and not to be judgmental of women who it might take 5 or 6 times before we might see them several times in the safe home, but each time they make it a little further. They might make it to their long-term program and last a month, and then they call us again after a year and they're ready to make it 2 months, and then they leave but there's so many hurdles that they have to overcome. And so I'm learning a lot just about how to respect their choice in that and then to walk alongside them, however that might look.
When you guys are helping somebody transition from being a victim of being trafficked to to help us try to help usher them into a different, I guess, a safe place.
Mhm.
How does that transition look?
Yes. So at the Freedom Collective, our goal is to be that emergency crisis stabilization.
Okay.
Because once a woman decides to make that choice,
Mhm.
it's imperative that it happens quickly because she might only have a certain window of time where she can get out, or she might decide tomorrow she doesn't want to leave. We don't know. So we run a 24-hour hotline. When the women call and she decides that she does want to exit the life, we send a volunteer response team to go pick her up. And our goal is to be there within 3 hours if possible.
Wow.
And then we take her to the safe home. While she's at the safe home, it's usually about a 3-week period. All of her immediate needs are met: shelter, clothing, food, doctor's appointments, psychiatric appointments, a lot of times they need detox because there's a huge overlap with drug use within exploitation. And so we make sure all of that's taken care of so that then she can begin to apply to long-term restorative care programs. And those programs offer a year to 2 year stay,
Mhm.
and you get like trauma informed counseling, job training, further your education, really help you get ready to reacclimate into normal life.
Okay.
But our portion is kind of the emergency room. We
Okay.
want to be there as soon as a woman's ready to leave. There was a woman that we helped. This actually happened at the Varsity in Atlanta. So she was being held in a hotel near there. Her pimp had her, and I think three other women. She decided she wanted to leave. So she escaped up, went up to the Varsity, started to look through her phone, and she didn't have any safe contact. She thought, I'm so isolated from everybody that would have loved me and cared for me, and I'm alone. Who in the world do I call? So as she was scrolling through her phone, she found the number of one of her Johns, one of her buyers that was always very kind to her. So she called him and said, I'm ready to leave. Can you please help? And he said, I'll be right there. Hung up on the phone with her and then called her pimp and said, one of your girls is getting away. I'm headed to the Varsity to meet her. Meet us there. So he walks in. She thinks, okay, this is going to be my chance of escape. And the pimp walks in as well, takes her back, has the other girls beat her up, puts her in a dog kennel overnight to punish her. And that's the type of, it's hard to leave because that's what they're
The
up
fear of
against.
retaliation.
The fear of retaliation and then not having a safe number to call. And how do I leave if there's nobody that I know in my life that could help me?
What can the everyday person just either give or say or just make an impact
Mhm.
to where they're helping to make a difference? What would you suggest that person to
Yeah.
do?
I think one way, of course, is finding an anti-trafficking mission that a ministry, an organization that you connect with, and donating to them. Like
Okay.
financial needs are always there. And then another thing could just be raising awareness. If people know that there's an issue out there, then that makes all the difference. So like telling your friends, your neighbors, this is like an actual issue and we need to be spreading the word and mobilizing the community to combat this. I think a lot of times we like to live in our little bubble and
Yes.
pretend like it's not happening.
Mhm.
But even just being that awareness advocate out in the community, telling your neighbors, people at school, people at work, like this is an issue and you need to start caring about it. You need to pay attention. For people that are scrolling on their phones, start following anti trafficking organizations and then resharing their content because that's how they will become more known in the community. And so that's a very low level engagement, but makes a huge impact.
Okay. As far as I know, this is a touchy subject. I'm a man. Where is my place in this? Where can the fathers, the uncles, the brothers, the cousins, the male population, where can we put our work and our voice and our energies to these things outside of being a medical professional or somebody donating money? What would you say? And I'm gonna walk this plank and say, what is our responsibility as men for our women? What would you say based off of your experience?
I think men do play a huge role in it.
Mhm.
I think even starting young, like that, like people's daughters and nieces, letting them know that they can have a healthy relationship with a man and that like telling them they're beautiful and they're loved. Like my brother-in-law will always tell like my little nieces, like, good morning, beautiful. Like, no matter what you look like, who you are, I love you. And just letting them have that care and affection, I think is very important because we've seen the vulnerabilities when they aren't getting that from healthy places in their life that they start to go towards other people. So having that, just being somebody who stands up against pornography. That's one of the gateways to buyers is that they might have a pornography addiction that turns into, okay, I'm no longer like satisfied watching it on the screen. And so then they become the purchasers of sex. And so I think like being a strong advocate against that among friends, coworkers, I think like the male population can have a really really strong voice in that. And if we can stop that consumption, it will help us stop sex buyers as a whole, if we can stop that addiction. And then finding ways to volunteers, like our response teams are a male and a female that go out and pick up the women. We always send them in pairs, and the women who we serve and take to the safe home, they might forget the woman who was in the car, but they always remember that man because he did something kind for her, went out of his way, gave up time, and didn't want anything in return. And they just feel like that might be the first time they've experienced that. So I think just setting that example, being that step above, and just standing on principle.
And you're in the Atlanta chapter
Yes.
of the Freedom Collective. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how many chapters do you guys have?
We have one in Columbus, Ohio. We are opening one in Northwest Florida. Somebody's moving there actually this week, and she will open that one by the end of this year.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
And then we also have in Middle Georgia,
Mhm.
we have kind of like a branch of the Atlanta. So we work together closely with Middle Georgia.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Eleos Foundation, because a lot of times people think, oh, we have to be the ones running the safe home, or we have to be the ones out in the community. But something I love about this organization is that the heart is really to prop up others, is that we're in this work together.
Absolutely.
And you don't always see that of people that are willing to do the background work and not get the glory or whatever. And I just think that's beautiful. And one of my favorite things about the Eleos Foundation is that they're there to prop up others in the work.
Absolutely.
And that just creates such a collaborative community where we really can serve the women the best when we're all doing that.